The crystal towers of Zephyria Prime sparkled under 3 different suns. Inside the largest tower, beings from across the galaxy gathered in the Great Council Chamber. The room was huge, with floating platforms for each species. Some needed different air to breathe. Others lived in energy fields, and a few existed as pure thought. Ambassador Kethvar of the Ethereals floated above his platform. His body was made of blue light that shifted and moved like water. Next to him sat the mechanoid delegate, a machine being with red glowing eyes and metal parts that clicked when he moved. Across the room, the voidling representative appeared as a dark cloud with tiny stars inside. They were all here to talk about the same thing. Earth. The humans. The application that had arrived 3 cycles ago asking to join the Galactic Council. Kethvar's light grew brighter as he spoke. We are here to discuss the most amusing request we have received in centuries. The humans of Earth want to join us. His voice echoed with telepathic laughter that made other beings shake their heads. The mechanoid delegate's eyes flashed. My calculations show they are exactly 2,847 years behind acceptable technology standards. They still use chemical rockets to leave their planet. Chemical rockets. The machine being made a sound like grinding. Gears, which was how mechanoids laughed. A tall gray being with 4 arms stood up. This was Ambassador Zeltoth from the Hegemony Worlds. They have nuclear weapons, he said in a deep voice. Nuclear weapons. We stopped using such primitive tools before their species learned to make fire. Around the chamber, other beings nodded and made their own sounds of agreement. The snake-like serpentines hissed. The crystal beings chimed like bells. The gas creatures swirled in patterns that meant they were laughing. Kethvar raised one glowing hand. Let me share what our scouts found when they visited their world. The air above the center of the chamber began to glow. Images appeared showing Earth from space, then cities, then humans walking around, driving cars, using computers. Look at them, Kethvar said. They still need vehicles to move around their planet. They eat dead plants and animals. They sleep for 8 hours every day because their bodies are so weak. They get sick from tiny organisms. They die if they do not breathe air for just a few minutes. More laughter filled the chamber. The voidling's cloud swirled faster. In our energy form, we have existed for millions of years. These meat creatures live for less than 100 rotations around their star. The mechanoid's red eyes grew brighter. They have not even learned to transfer their minds to metal bodies. They are trapped in flesh that breaks and dies. How can such beings think they belong among us? Ambassador Zeltoth's 4 arms moved as he spoke. My people have conquered 47 star systems. We have weapons that can destroy planets. We have ships faster than light itself. What do the humans have? They have barely reached their own moon. An insect-like being with 6 legs clicked its mandibles. Our hive mind connects billions of individuals across 12 worlds. We think as one perfect organism. These humans cannot even agree on simple things. They fight wars among themselves over resources and beliefs. The chamber filled with more sounds of agreement. Every being there had reasons to look down on humanity. They had technologies that seemed like magic. They had lived for thousands of years. They controlled vast areas of space. Kethvar's form grew even brighter. The question is not whether to accept them. The question is whether we should even bother to respond to their request. Perhaps we should ignore them completely. But before anyone could answer, a new voice spoke. It came from the communication system that connected all parts of the galaxy. The voice was mechanical and urgent. Emergency. Transmission from the Outer Rim monitoring stations. The Draconian Empire has mobilized the Extinction Fleet. Repeat, the Extinction Fleet is moving. Silence fell over the chamber like a heavy blanket. Every being stopped moving. Even the gas creatures became still. The Draconian Empire was the most feared military force in the galaxy. They had destroyed hundreds of civilizations. Their extinction fleet had never been defeated. When the Draconians decided a species was a threat, That species disappeared from the galaxy forever. Ambassador Zeltoth was the first to speak. His voice was quieter now. Which direction is the fleet moving? The communication system crackled. The extinction fleet is heading toward the Sol system, toward Earth. A wave of surprise moved through the chamber. Then, slowly, the surprise changed into something else. Excitement, cruel satisfaction. Kethvar's light pulsed with what looked like joy. How perfect. The Draconians will solve our human problem for us. The mechanoid delegate's eyes flickered. The extinction fleet contains 10,000 warships. Each ship is larger than the humans' biggest cities. The fleet has planet cracker, weapons and reality warping drives. The snake-like serpentine ambassador hissed softly. General Thrackmore commands that fleet. He has never shown mercy. He has never left survivors. Around the chamber, beings began to talk excitedly. This was better than they could have hoped for. The humans had applied to join the Galactic Council. Now the most powerful military force in the galaxy was heading to destroy them. It was almost too good to be true. Ambassador Zeltoth stood again. We should watch this. We should record what happens when a primitive species meets real galactic power. Yes, agreed the insect being. This will be educational. Other primitive species will learn from the humans' fate. Kethvar's form grew bright with pleasure. The timing is perfect. The humans asked to join us. Instead, they will be erased from existence. This will send a clear message to any other primitive species that might have similar ideas. The Voidling's cloud swirled in patterns of satisfaction. Perhaps we should thank the Draconians afterward. They will save us the trouble of rejecting the human application. More sounds of agreement filled the chamber. The crystal beings chimed in harmonious patterns. The gas creatures formed shapes that meant happiness. Even the usually serious mechanoid delegate made pleased clicking sounds. The communication system spoke again. Long-range sensors show the extinction fleet has entered hyperspace. Estimated arrival at Sol system in 72 standard hours. Kethvar raised his glowing arms. Then it is decided. We will observe the destruction of Earth and its primitive inhabitants. We will record everything for our archives. Future species will see what happens to those who reach beyond their proper place in the galaxy. No one in the chamber spoke against this decision. No one suggested helping the humans. No one even suggested warning them. They all agreed that humanity deserved whatever was coming. The beings began to leave the chamber, floating back to their ships and worlds. They would watch from safe distances as the Draconian extinction fleet erased Earth from the galaxy. They would see the humans' primitive weapons fail against superior technology. They would witness the end of a species that had dared to think it belonged among the stars. As the chamber emptied, Kethvar remained floating above his platform. His light pulsed with satisfaction. Soon, the galaxy would be rid of another primitive nuisance. The humans would join the long list of species that had been destroyed for reaching too far too fast. He had no idea how wrong he was about everything. The command ship Death's Herald moved through space like a dark mountain. It was 20 kilometers long and covered in black armor that had never been scratched by enemy weapons. Inside its massive bridge, General Thrackmore stood looking at the star map. Thrackmore was 12 feet tall with scales that gleamed like dark metal. His claws could cut through starship walls. His teeth were sharp enough to bite through steel. Like all Draconians, he was built for war and had never known defeat. Behind him, Admiral Zexthul approached. She was smaller than the general, but still 9 feet tall. Her red scales showed her high rank in the Draconian military. General, the fleet is ready for the final jump to the Sol system. Thrackmore turned his massive head. His yellow eyes glowed in the dim light of the bridge. How many ships do we have? 10,000 warships, General. Every ship in the extinction fleet. We also have 50 planet crackers and 100 reality warping vessels. The general's mouth opened in what passed for a draconian smile. His teeth gleamed. 10,000 ships to destroy one primitive world. The other species will think we are being wasteful. Admiral Zexthul's scales rippled with amusement. The Galactic Council requested that we make an example of these humans. They want other primitive species to see what happens when they reach too far. Thrackmore walked to the viewing screen that showed the vast fleet around them. Thousands of warships stretched in all directions. Each ship was the size of a human city. Their weapons could destroy moons. Their shields could stop any known weapon in the galaxy. "Tell me about these humans," Thrackmore said. Zexthul activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared in the air between them. They live on one world in a system with a single yellow star. They have not yet learned to travel faster than light. Their biggest ships use chemical rockets. The general made a sound like grinding rocks, which was how Draconians laughed. "Chemical rockets? We used those toys 1,000,000 years ago." "Their weapons are equally primitive," the Admiral continued. "They fight with metal projectiles and chemical explosives. Their most powerful weapons split atoms to create explosions. They have no energy shields, no plasma cannons, no quantum disruptors." More images appeared. Human cities, human vehicles, humans themselves walking around in their weak organic bodies. "Look at them," Thrackmore said, pointing a massive claw at the images. "They are so small, so fragile. They cannot even survive in the vacuum of space without artificial protection." Zexthul nodded. "Our intelligence shows they have never fought a space war. They have no experience with orbital combat. They have never faced an enemy from outside their own system." The general turned back to the star map. A red line showed the path to Earth. "How long until we arrive?" 36 hours, General. Our scouts report that the outer human colonies have detected our approach. They are sending radio messages warning their home world." Thrackmore's eyes glowed brighter. "Radio messages. They still use radio waves for communication. We stopped using such slow methods before their species evolved." On the display, new images appeared. Human space stations that looked like metal cans connected by tubes. Human ships that were tiny compared to Draconian vessels. Human colonies on dead rocks that they called worlds. "Their defenses are laughable," Admiral Zexthul said. "Our sensors show a few patrol boats in the outer system, some mining ships that they have tried to convert into fighting vessels, orbital platforms that could not stop our smallest fighter craft." The general walked to his command chair, which was made from the skull of a space whale. "This will be the shortest war in Draconian history. We will arrive, destroy everything in the system, and be home in time for the victory feast." Around way. The bridge, other Draconian officers nodded their agreement. They had fought in hundreds of wars. They had destroyed civilizations that were far more advanced than the humans. Species with energy beings, machine intelligences, and collective minds had all fallen to Draconian might. "General," said the communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council." "Put it through," Thrackmore ordered. The image of Ambassador Kethvar appeared on the main screen. His blue light pulsed with excitement. "General," Thrackmore, "the Council wishes to thank you for taking care of our human problem." The general bared his teeth. "It will be our pleasure, Ambassador. How do you wish us to proceed?" "Make it memorable," Kethvar said. "Other primitive species should see what happens when they try to reach beyond their place. Make sure there are survivors to spread the tale." Thrackmore nodded slowly. "There will be survivors. Broken ones. They will tell the galaxy how quickly the human empire fell." After the transmission ended, Admiral Zexthul approached again. "General, our long-range sensors are picking up strange readings from the human colonies." "What kind of readings?" The Admiral looked puzzled. "Empty space, General. As our scout ships pass near human settlements, the settlements disappear." Thrackmore turned his massive head. "Disappear? Destroyed?" "No, General. Just gone. No debris, no energy signatures, no signs of evacuation. The colonies are simply not there anymore." The general thought about this for a moment. Then he made the grinding laugh sound again. "They are running. The cowardly humans are abandoning their colonies and fleeing deeper into their system. They know what is coming." This made sense to the other officers. Many primitive species ran when they saw the extinction fleet approaching. It was smart behavior. even if it only delayed the inevitable. "Let them run," Thrackmore said. "It will make the hunt more interesting. We will chase them to their homeworld and destroy them there." The bridge crew began preparing for the final jump to the Sol system. Weapons were charged. Shields were raised. The planet cracker devices were brought online. In 36 hours, they would arrive at Earth. In 37 hours, the human species would no longer exist. But as the fleet prepared for battle, strange reports continued to come from the scout ships. Human installations continued to disappear without any explanation. Ships that were there one moment were gone the next. Even the debris from destroyed human vessels seemed to vanish. Admiral Zexthul brought these reports to General Thrackmore. "General, our scouts cannot find any human ships to fight. They detect them on sensors, but when they move to attack, there is nothing there." Thrackmore's yellow eyes narrowed. "Are you telling me that humans have stealth technology?" "Unknown, General. Our sensors show the ships clearly, but when our weapons fire, they hit empty space." The general considered this. Some advanced species had cloaking devices or stealth fields, but humans were supposed to be primitive. They should not have such technology. "It does not matter," he decided. "When we reach Earth, there will be nowhere for them to hide. We will crack their planet open and burn their cities from orbit. Stealth technology cannot protect them from planet killers." The countdown to Earth continued. 20 hours, 10 hours, 5 hours. The extinction fleet prepared for the easiest victory in its history. 10,000 warships against one primitive world. The humans might have some tricks, but tricks would not save them from overwhelming force. As the fleet made its final jump toward Earth, every draconian warrior was confident of victory. They had never been defeated. They had never even been seriously challenged. They had no idea they were jumping into a trap that had been prepared for months. They had no idea that the humans they thought were running in fear were actually herding the fleet exactly where they wanted it to go. The greatest military force in the galaxy was about to learn that there were worse things than defeat. They were about to learn what it felt like to be prey. The extinction fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 10,000 draconian warships spread across space like a dark cloud. Each ship was ready for battle, weapons charged, shields up, planet crackers armed and ready. General Thrackmore stood on the bridge of Death's Herald and looked at the tactical display. The inner planets showed up as small dots. Earth was there, third from the sun, exactly where the intelligence report said it would be. "Report," he ordered. Admiral Zexthul studied her instruments. "General, we are detecting human presence throughout the system. Multiple colonies on different worlds, orbital stations around several planets, mining operations in the asteroid belt." The general nodded. This was what they expected to find. A primitive species spread thinly across their home system, waiting to be crushed by superior force. "Begin the advance," Thrackmore commanded. "Destroy everything. Leave nothing alive." The massive fleet began moving toward the inner system. The first targets were the outer colonies on distant moons and asteroids. These should be easy kills. Undefended mining stations and research posts. The lead ships approached the first human settlement on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Sensors showed a small colony with maybe 10,000 humans. The Draconian destroyer Bone Crusher moved in to destroy it. Captain Vextar commanded the destroyer. He had destroyed hundreds of enemy settlements in his career. This should take only minutes. "Target locked," reported his weapons officer. "Colony in range. Fire all weapons." Captain Vextar ordered. Plasma cannons and missile tubes erupted with deadly fire. Enough firepower to level a city struck the human colony. When the explosions cleared, the sensors showed only empty ice, but there was no debris, no signs of destruction, no heat signatures from fires or explosions. The colony was simply gone, as if it had never existed. "Scan again," the captain ordered. His sensor officer worked at his console. "Sir, I am detecting no traces of the colony. No metal fragments, no biological remains, no energy signatures, nothing." Captain Vextar stared at the readings. In all his years of war, he had never seen anything like this. When you destroyed a settlement, there was always debris, always some sign of what had been there. "Report to the fleet command," he finally ordered. Target destroyed. But he did not feel good about the report. Something was wrong. The same thing happened at the next colony, and the next. Human settlements throughout the outer system simply vanished when the draconian ships attacked them. No debris, no survivors, no evidence they had ever existed. On the fleet command ship, Admiral Zexthul brought the reports to General Thrackmore. General, we have destroyed 17 human colonies, but the destruction patterns are unusual. Unusual how? No debris, General. No signs of battle. The colonies are simply gone. Thrackmore's yellow eyes narrowed. Are you saying humans have learned to completely vaporize their own settlements? Unknown, General, but there is something else. Our ships report seeing the colonies clearly on sensors before attack. Then, after weapons impact, the sensors show the colonies were never there. This made no sense to the General. He had seen many species use different defensive tactics. Some had powerful shields. Some had weapons that could fight back. Some tried to hide their settlements. But he had never seen anything just disappear. Continue the advance, he ordered. Whatever tricks they are using, it will not save them when we reach their homeworld. The fleet moved deeper into the system. They passed the orbit of Mars and detected more human settlements. Space stations orbited the red planet. Mining operations worked the asteroid belt. The inner system seemed full of human activity. But as the draconian ships advanced, the same thing kept happening. Human installations would show clearly on sensors. Then when the draconians moved to attack, they would find empty space. Captain Mordak commanded the heavy cruiser Death Wind. His job was to destroy the human orbital stations around Mars. As his ship approached, he could see the stations clearly. On his viewing screen, large metal structures spinning slowly in space. All weapons target the closest station, he ordered. Weapons locked on target, Captain. Fire. The heavy cruiser's main guns fired. Streams of plasma and quantum disruptors struck the space station. The weapons hit their target perfectly, but when the energy dissipated, there was nothing there. No wreckage, no explosion. No trace that a space station had ever been in that location. Sensor error, Captain Mordak decided. The station must have been a sensor ghost, a reflection or false reading. But his sensor officer looked puzzled. Captain, the station showed on 5 different sensor types: visual, thermal, electromagnetic, quantum, and gravitational. All sensors confirmed a solid object with a human crew of 300 beings. The captain had no answer for this. Sensors could malfunction, but not 5 different types at the same time. Similar reports came from across the fleet. Human targets that appeared solid and real until draconian weapons struck them. Then they simply were not there anymore. General Thrackmore grew more and more angry as the reports came in. Are you telling me that this entire system is full of illusions? That nothing we are seeing is real? Admiral Zexthul checked her instruments. Again. General, our sensors are working perfectly. The targets appear real in every way. But when we attack them, they disappear. The general finished. This is some kind of advanced holographic technology. The humans are trying to confuse us. This explanation made more sense than the alternatives. Perhaps the humans were more advanced than intelligence had suggested. Perhaps they had learned to create very realistic illusions. Order the fleet to ignore these ghost targets, Thrackmore commanded. We go straight to Earth. We will attack the planet itself. They cannot make an entire world disappear. But even as he gave this order, stranger reports were coming in. Ships throughout the fleet were reporting equipment malfunctions. Sensors would work perfectly, then suddenly show impossible readings. Weapons would fire at targets that sensors confirmed but hit nothing. Captain Jexral of the battleship Starkiller reported the strangest incident. General, we detected a human patrol fleet approaching our position. 12 small ships moving to intercept us. We fired our main weapons and destroyed all 12 ships, confirmed kills. But then our sensors showed the same 12 ships attacking us from a different direction. Did you destroy them again? We tried, General, but our weapons seemed to pass right through them. Then the ships just went away. These reports made no sense. The general had fought energy beings who could change form. He had battled machine intelligences that could copy themselves. But he had never encountered anything like this. As the fleet approached Earth's orbit, more strange things happened. Draconian ships would detect human vessels nearby, but when they turned to engage, they would find their own ships instead. Patrol groups would report seeing other Draconian vessels where none should be. Communication between ships became difficult. Radio messages would be received from ships that were on the other side of the system. Ships would respond to orders that had never been given. Admiral Zexthul brought her concerns to the general. "Sir, I believe we are dealing with some kind of space-time distortion field. The humans may have weapons that affect reality itself." Throckmore rejected this idea. "Impossible. Humans are primitives. They do not have reality-warping technology." But deep down, he was beginning to worry. The extinction fleet had never encountered anything like this. His ships were the most advanced in the galaxy. His warriors were the best trained. His weapons could destroy planets. Yet somehow, a primitive species was making his entire fleet look foolish. Targets appeared and disappeared. Ships seemed to be in multiple places at once. Simple attacks on defenseless colonies were failing for reasons no one could explain. As the fleet finally reached Earth's orbit, the general made a decision. "Prepare the planet crackers. We will split their world in half and be done with this nonsense." But when the fleet's sensors turned toward Earth, they found something impossible. The planet showed clearly on all instruments. Cities glowed with light on the night side. Orbital stations surrounded the world. Everything looked normal, but there were also 10,000 Draconian ships in orbit. Ships identical to the extinction fleet. Ships that had not been there moments before. Admiral Zexthul stared at her readings. "General, our sensors show our own fleet already in orbit around Earth, but we just arrived." Throckmore looked at the display. 2 identical extinction fleets now surrounded Earth. 20,000 Draconian warships were there. Should only be 10,000. "Which fleet is real?" he asked. His admiral had no answer. According to every sensor they had, both fleets were equally real. That was when the message came. It was broadcast on all frequencies in perfect Draconian language. "You should have stayed home." The voice was human, calm, almost friendly. Then, one by one, ships in the other fleet began to disappear. Not destroyed, not damaged. Simply gone, as if they had never existed. And slowly, terrifyingly, ships in the real extinction fleet began to disappear too. Captain Jexral was the first to understand what was happening to the extinction fleet. His battleship Starkiller had been one of the most feared ships in the galaxy. Now it drifted in space, most of its crew gone. They had not been killed. They had not been captured. They had simply stopped existing. Jexral sat alone on his bridge, recording his final message. Around him, empty chairs showed where his officers had been sitting moments before. The captain's hands shook as he spoke into the communication device. "This is Captain Jexral of the battleship Starkiller. If anyone receives this message, do not come to the Sol system. The humans are not what we thought. They are not what anyone thought." He paused and looked around the empty bridge. My weapons officer Vectar was sitting at his station. He was checking our quantum disruptors when something walked onto the bridge. I say something because I am not sure it was human. The captain's voice grew quieter. It looked human, small like their species always looks, wearing their primitive clothing. But it walked through our shields like they were not there. It walked through our armor like it was air. Our security systems never detected it. Jexral stood up and walked to where his weapons officer had been. The chair was still warm. The thing looked at Vectar and said one word. Gone. And Vectar just was not there anymore. Not dead. Not moved. Not teleported. He had never existed. More sounds came from other parts of the ship. Footsteps in corridors that should be empty. Voices speaking in human languages that no Draconian could understand. "They are all over my ship now," the captain continued. "Humans who should not be able to breathe our atmosphere. Humans who walk through solid metal. Humans who appear and disappear like ghosts." Through the bridge windows he could see other Draconian ships. Some were dark and dead. Others showed signs of fighting. A few were trying to escape but could not enter hyperspace. Something was blocking their jump drives. "I have commanded warships. For 300 years, Jexral said. I have fought energy beings and machine gods. I have seen weapons that could destroy stars. But I have never seen anything like this." The captain turned on his ship's external sensors. "The humans are not using weapons. They are not fighting us. They are editing us out of existence. Ship by ship, warrior by warrior. They are deciding that we were never here." A new sound came from behind him. Footsteps. Human footsteps. The captain turned around. A human female stood in the doorway. She was small, maybe 5.5 feet tall. She wore simple gray clothing. Her hair was brown and tied back. She looked completely ordinary except for her eyes. Her eyes held depths that seemed to go on forever. "Captain Jexral," she said, in perfect Draconian. "You have been recording your experiences." The captain reached for his sidearm, but his hand passed through it. The weapon was still there, but he could not touch it. "What are you?" "I am Dr. Sarah Chen," the human said. "I work for the Earth Defense Cooperative. I am here to explain what is happening to your fleet." Jexral tried to back away, but his feet would not move. "You are using some kind of paralysis weapon." "No," Dr. Chen said. "You are simply becoming less real. It is not painful. Most beings do not even notice it happening." The captain looked down at his hands. They seemed solid, but there was something strange about them. They looked slightly transparent, like images projected in the air. "What have you done to us?" Dr. Chen walked to the center of the bridge. She seemed to glide rather than walk. "Your species made a mistake. You assumed that primitive meant helpless. You thought that being behind in traditional technology meant we had nothing to offer." She gestured toward the viewing screen, which now showed Earth hanging in space. 50 years ago, our scientists discovered something that the rest of the galaxy missed. We learned that reality is not fixed. It is more like a story that the universe tells itself. The captain tried to understand. "You are speaking in riddles." "Think of it this way," Dr. Chen said. "Your weapons destroy matter by applying energy. Your shields stop weapons by absorbing energy. Everything your people do follows the same rules. Force against force. Energy against energy." She smiled, but it was not a cruel smile. It was almost sad. "We learned to work with probability instead. We learned to change what is likely to happen. Then we learned to change what is possible to happen. Finally, we learned to change what did happen." Jexral felt himself becoming lighter. He could see through his own arms now. "You are erasing us from time?" "Not from time," Dr. Chen corrected. "From possibility. Your fleet existed. Your empire existed. Your conquests existed. But now they exist in a place where they never interacted with humanity." The captain tried to access his ship's computers, but his fingers passed through the controls. "This is impossible. You cannot rewrite reality." "Reality is quantum," the human explained. "At the smallest level, everything exists in multiple states until observed. We simply became very good at observing the states we preferred." Around them, the bridge began to fade. The walls became transparent. The equipment became ghostly. Soon only Dr. Chen remained solid and real. "Your General Thrackmore is experiencing the same thing," she said. "Right now he is talking to one of my colleagues. Dr. Martinez is explaining to him how we evacuated our colonies by moving them to parallel probability states." The captain could barely speak now. His voice sounded like wind through empty spaces. "The colonies we destroyed were never there," Dr. Chen confirmed. "We moved them to realities where your fleet took different paths through space. The people are safe. They are just existing in possibilities where you never found them." Everything around them was fading except for the human woman. She remained perfectly solid and real while the rest of the universe became shadows. "Why are you telling me this?" the captain whispered. "Because someone needs to carry the message back," Dr. Chen said. "Your empire needs to know what happened here. The galaxy needs to understand what humanity really is." She raised her hand, and suddenly the bridge became solid again. The captain could touch his controls. His crew was back at their stations, looking confused but alive. "We are letting some of your ships return home," Dr. Chen said. "You will carry recordings of what you saw here. You will tell your leaders about humanity's true nature." The captain looked around at his restored bridge crew. They all looked dazed, like people waking from strange dreams. "How many ships are you allowing to survive?" 12, the human answered. 12 ships out of 10,000. Enough to carry the story, not enough to threaten anyone. Dr. Chen began to fade, like a ghost losing strength. "Tell them that humanity was never primitive. We were hiding. We were learning. We were becoming something that had never existed in the galaxy before." The captain found his voice. "What are you? What have you become?" The human woman smiled one last time before disappearing completely. "We are the species that learned to edit reality, and we are very, very good at it." Alone with his confused crew, Captain Jexrel looked out at space around Earth. The extinction fleet was gone. 10,000 ships had simply stopped existing. Only 12 vessels remained, scattered and lost. On his communication system, he could hear the voices of other, surviving captains. They were all asking the same questions. Where was the fleet? What had happened? How were they still alive when everyone else was gone? But Captain Jexrel knew the truth. The humans had not destroyed the extinction fleet. They had convinced reality that the fleet had never come to the Sol system in the first place. He began recording his message to the Draconian Empire, a message that would change how every species in the galaxy thought about humanity. A message that would make Earth the most feared world in known space. The message that would announce humanity's true arrival among the stars. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began 12 hours after the last transmission from the Sol system. The great chamber on Zephyria Prime was filled with beings in panic. Representatives from hundreds of worlds had come to hear what had happened to the Draconian extinction fleet. Ambassador Kethvar floated above his platform, but his usual bright blue light was dim with worry. Across the chamber, the mechanoid delegate sat motionless, his red eyes flickering as he processed impossible data. The voidling representative had collapsed into a tight, dark ball of fear. At the center of the chamber, a holographic display showed the 12 surviving Draconian ships limping back toward their empire. Each ship carried recordings that no one wanted to believe. The Serpentine ambassador was the first to speak, his voice hissing with terror. "Show us the recordings." Again, Kethvar's light pulsed weakly. "We have seen them 17 times. They do not change." But the display activated anyway. The recording came from Captain Jexrel of the battleship Starkiller. His voice was broken and small as he described watching his crew members simply stop existing. Other recordings showed empty space where the extinction fleet had been. Censor, logs that made no sense. Reports of humans walking through solid matter like ghosts. The most disturbing recording came from Admiral Zexthol's flagship. It showed the Admiral herself talking to empty air, having a conversation with someone invisible. But the ship's computers had recorded a human voice responding to her questions. A voice that explained how humanity had learned to manipulate probability itself. When the recordings ended, silence fell over the chamber like a heavy blanket. Every being present was trying to understand what they had witnessed. The greatest military force in the galaxy had been erased from existence by a species they had called primitive. Ambassador Zeltoth of the Hegemony Worlds spoke first. His 4 arms trembled as he pointed at the display. "This is not possible. No species can rewrite reality. It violates every law of physics we know." The mechanoid delegate's eyes flashed. "My calculations show that the events described in these recordings require technology at least 50,000 years more advanced than our current understanding." "But the humans are primitives," hissed the Serpentine. "They barely reach their own moon. They use chemical rockets. They have biological bodies that die in less than a century." Kethvar's light grew even dimmer. Perhaps that was the point. Perhaps they wanted us to think they were primitive. A new voice spoke from the chamber's communication system. It was calm, pleasant, and completely human. "May I address the council?" Every being in the chamber froze. The voice had come from their most secure communication network, a network that was supposed to be impossible to hack, a network that used quantum encryption and reality-locked channels. "Who is speaking?" Kethvar demanded, his light flickering, with fear. "My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I represent humanity in matters of galactic diplomacy." The holographic display in the center of the chamber activated. A human woman appeared, sitting in what looked like a simple office. She was small and unremarkable, wearing plain gray clothing, but her presence seemed to fill the entire chamber. "How did you access our communications?" the mechanoid asked. Dr. Chen smiled politely. "We have been monitoring your discussions about our membership application. We thought it was time to participate directly." Ambassador Zeltoth's forearms gestured angrily. "Your species destroyed the Draconian extinction fleet." "No," Dr. Chen corrected gently. "We edited them out of their current probability state. Most of the crews are alive and well. They simply exist in realities where they never threatened humanity." The Voidling representative finally spoke, its voice a whisper of energy. "What do you want from us?" "The same thing we have always wanted," the human said. "Membership in the Galactic Council, a place among the civilized species of the galaxy. Trade agreements, cultural exchange, peace." Kethavar's light pulsed with desperate confusion. "But you just eliminated the most powerful military force in known space. Why would you need our permission for anything?" Dr. Chen's expression grew, sad. "Because we do not want to rule the galaxy through fear. We want to be partners, not overlords. We want to learn from you and share what we know. We want to build something better than an empire built on conquest." The insect being with 6 legs clicked its mandibles nervously. "How do we know you will not erase us too if we displease you?" "Because that is not who we are," the human replied. "Yes, we have the ability to edit reality, but we use that ability only when threatened. The Draconians came to our system with planet-killer weapons. They intended to commit genocide against our entire species. We defended ourselves." She gestured, and the holographic display changed. Now it showed human colonies throughout their solar system, busy space stations, ships moving between worlds, millions of humans living and working in space. "This is what we really are," Dr. Chen said. "We are explorers, scientists, artists, and dreamers. We want to see new worlds and meet new peoples. We want to add our voices to the great conversation of galactic civilization." Ambassador Zeltoth leaned forward. "But you hid your true nature. You made us think you were primitive." "We were cautious," the human admitted. "Our early observations of galactic politics showed us that advanced species often destroy or enslave less advanced ones. We chose to remain hidden until we could defend ourselves." The mechanoid's red eyes flickered rapidly. "Your technology makes all our weapons obsolete, our shields useless, our strategies meaningless." Dr. Chen nodded slowly. "Yes, it does. But we are not interested in conquest. We are interested in cooperation." She stood up from her chair, and the image moved with her. "Let me show you something that might ease your fears." The display changed again. Now it showed Earth from space. But this Earth was different. Massive structures surrounded the planet. Space elevators reached into orbit. Artificial rings provided more living space. It was clearly the work of incredibly advanced technology. "This is Earth as it exists in probability state 7847, Dr. Chen explained. "In this reality, we never hid our capabilities. We announced ourselves to the galaxy 50 years ago as an advanced species." The image shifted to show space battles. Human ships fighting against various alien fleets, planets burning, entire solar systems turned into battlefields. In that reality, we are locked in constant warfare with every other species in the galaxy. Fear and mistrust have created endless conflict. Billions die every year. No one trusts anyone. No one builds anything beautiful or lasting. The image changed back to the simple office where Dr. Chen sat. "We chose this reality instead, the one where we hid until we were strong enough to defend ourselves but not so proud that we declared war on everyone." Kethvar's light was starting to brighten again. "You are saying you want peace?" We are saying we want to earn our place among you, the human replied. We want to prove that advanced technology does not have to mean domination. The chamber fell silent as every being considered this. The humans had just demonstrated power beyond anything in the galaxy. They could rewrite reality itself. They could eliminate entire fleets without firing a shot. They could probably erase any species they chose from existence. But instead of making demands, they were asking for friendship. The Voidling was the first to respond. What guarantees can you give us that you will not use your power against peaceful species? Dr. Chen smiled. The same guarantee you give each other. Our word, our actions, and our character. We know that trust must be earned. She gestured again, and the display showed human ships approaching various worlds throughout the galaxy. We would like to send ambassadors to each of your worlds, small delegations that can begin cultural and scientific exchanges. We want you to know us as we really are, the Serpentine ambassador hissed softly. And if we refuse? Then we will remain in our own system and wait until you are ready, Dr. Chen said simply. We have learned patience. We can wait as long as necessary. Ambassador Zeltoth stood up on his platform. I have a question about the Draconians. What happens to their empire now that their fleet is gone? Their empire continues, the human replied. We removed their ability to commit genocide, not their right to exist. They can still trade, explore, and grow. They simply cannot destroy other species anymore. This caused a stir throughout the chamber. The Draconian Empire had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. The idea that they could still exist but no longer threaten others was almost too good to believe. Kethavar's light grew bright again as he made his decision. I move to accept humanity's application for council membership. Seconded, said the mechanoid immediately. Agreed, hissed the Serpentine. One by one, every representative in the chamber voted to accept humanity, not because they had been forced to, but because they chose to. As the session ended, Dr. Chen's image began to fade. But before she disappeared completely, she said one final thing. Thank you for this opportunity. We look forward to learning from all of you, and we hope that together we can build a galaxy where no one has to hide who they really are. The chamber fell quiet after she was gone. Then, slowly, the beings began to talk among themselves. They spoke of new possibilities, of technologies that could benefit everyone, of a future where strength served wisdom instead of conquest.